Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you today episode number 18, and I'm bringing you the head coach at Arizona, Clancy Shields. Clancy, welcome on.
Thanks for having me on.
Clancy, how are we doing today? How's life down there in sunny Arizona?
Yeah, I was just thinking today how great we have it and how everyone else is starting to hunker down for the winter, and it's 82 degrees and life is good out here in Arizona.
You can say that again. I still live in Knoxville, and for the first time on one of these episodes, I'm wearing a zip up here, so it's starting to get chilly. Look, first of all, if you don't know Clancy, I think one thing that I would like to say off the bat is he's gone into two programs recently and completely turned them around. The first program was at Utah State as the head coach. The second program being Arizona. I'm talking no wins to making school records, Sweet 16s, winning conference championships. Just an entrepreneur of college tennis is how I would like to describe it. My simple question to you, Clancy, or maybe not simple, but how do you do it? You've turned around two programs. You've got them on the national scale, right? You've got them to the NCAA tournament. You are winning titles. How have you turned those programs around?
I think a lot of people want to know that. And I mean, first off, there's never any substitute for hard work. And that's always, you start there. That's number one. And I think everybody in our program works incredibly hard. And, you know, I always meet with our seniors when they leave. And one of the things that they talk about is how difficult it is to be a part of the program, but how rewarding it is looking back on their time here of all the things that they've accomplished. So we kind of start there. And then, yeah, I just think being around competitive people. I mean, we're going to compete in everything that we do, whether we wake up, we're going to play beach volleyball later today. We're going to get on the court and we're going to compete. You know, we'll go on the road trips and we're playing chess. We're competing. I think we're going to compete in everything that we do. And I think that's important in your program because I don't care what you're doing. Try to be the very best at it that you can be. And I think we do kind of a competitive matrix here. I stole this from North Carolina coach Anson Durance, and I was reading his book and I was seeing how, you know, he structured his program and all the competitive things that they did there to play. And I said, okay, let's bring that into our programs. And so, you know, from the second you walk on the tennis court, we're keeping track of the score and we're keeping track of the points and how you're doing. And, you know, if you're doing, and honestly, I never designed it to be, hey, this would be our lineup, but it's almost every year it mirrors what your lineup should be. And it's like your GPA is recorded, your community service hours, your how many teams of, you know, are you going to other teams' events? How many matches you're winning? You know, we've kind of crafted it over the years to make it more dialed into, hey, if you're getting ranked wins, it's more points. But, you know, I remember my first year at Utah State, we crafted this up and the teams were, you know, they were off playing UTR tournaments before UTR tournaments existed. They were playing matches on their own because they saw the value of kind of climbing in this competitive matrix and just wanted our players to want to compete all the time, to get after it. And, you know, as your boy Ben Mullis used to say, you know, out hustle, out work, out compete. And that was kind of a little bit of our model here.
Wow. But by the way, again, these are great for people to listen to, but it's also, I can't tell you how enjoyable it is for me as well. Like what you just said there about everything is competing and, you know, you walk in the door, like it's just, I think it's great to hear. Anyway, at Arizona, you didn't win a conference match for the first 2 years, right? I have
Correct.
the stats pulled up in front of me. Like, did you at times during those first 2 years, were you like, wow, I mean, this is, you know, you're questioning what you're doing. Did you ever look in the mirror and say, look, is this right? Like, am I going to fix this? Like, how was it in that time where you really struggled before you really turned it around?
Yeah, I remember, I think lost 17. We went 0-19 to start my tenure here in the Pac-12. And we were playing a Washington team and we ended up losing 4-3. Match came down. I think we were up 5-3 in the third. I remember one of the players kind of in tears was like, oh, we're doing everything right. Like we're doing everything you're asking us to do. And like, we're not winning matches. And yeah, I mean, deep down, you don't have the answers for that. Are we going to be able to turn this around? But in your heart, you're like, well, they're recruiting, you're going to recruit better and better each year. And sometimes, I mean, Coach Patton used to say this, you're not going to win the Derby on the back of a donkey. I don't want to say it in that way, but like you have to have a certain level of talent to win. And so I feel like starting off here, there was a lower level of talent, but we were making up the gap, kind of putting the foundation in place of, hey, the work ethic, the camaraderie amongst the teams. And those are always some of my favorite teams. I mean, some of the stories that probably came out of the first 2 years are absolute comical. And maybe these guys for the rest of their lives, 30, 40 years, are going to be talking about our fitness test and some of the crazy things that we did, board pushes. I mean, I didn't know what, I was 29 years old. They hired me and I was trying to turn around a losing program, and I would try anything that worked. But I'll promise you, those teams are the toughest teams I've ever been around. I mean, they went through an absolute gauntlet of work.
Yeah, this is great. This is great stuff. And then at Utah State, you took over a team. You didn't have the greatest record in the first year. Then second year, I think I remember this because my old teammate was your assistant at the time, Ben Mullis. You beat BYU for the first time, I think, on the road. You get the most wins in school history. Is that a same mentality? Like you're just constantly thinking of how you can make the program as competitive as it can possibly be in all areas. Is that right?
Yeah, look, when I started off there, we were 0-50 versus BYU. And I mean, that was like our record. 0-50. And then we beat them, I think, 2 or 3 times in a row. And I think it was one of these type of things. It's like we would talk about, dude, I don't subscribe to this narrative that like we're the bottom team. I don't subscribe to it at Utah State, even though we have never been a good program. And I never subscribed to it when I came to Arizona. Like, we're in the Pac-12. Why can't we beat Stanford? Why can't we beat USC, UCLA? And when you would dig into the records and you'd see we're 2-77 versus USC, or we're 2-80 versus UCLA, and you just kind of started thinking, well, I guess some people bought into that and they were like, well, we're not supposed to beat these teams. And I just felt like my whole life has been, I grew up in a small town in Colorado, no indoor courts. We shoveled the snow off the courts to play. My brother and I were never supposed to be great tennis players, but we were tough. And we never thought we couldn't beat the California kids or the Florida kids. We just felt like anytime you step on the court, you believe you're going to win. And I see that a lot nowadays. Kids walk on the court and they already think they're going to lose, whether it's a UTR or whether they're playing a jersey or some number or something. And it's like, we just never subscribed to that. And it took, as you said, it took us maybe 20 matches for the team to fully believe that. But once we started gaining some traction, I mean, I think our record over the California schools is like 10-2 in the last 3 years that we've played. And before that, it was probably like 6-200.
Yeah. The best players that you've coached, what characteristics do they bring? Obviously, they're good tennis players, right? They know how to play tennis. But there has to be other elements that you've noticed as a coach which separates them and gets them to the next level.
Yeah. Well, I've been super blessed at Colton Smith for 4 years, and now he's 130 in the world. I think the thing for him, his frustration tolerance was unlike anybody I ever met. I mean, I've never had a player come over and tell me to, coach, it's going to be okay. Life's going to be okay. Like, it's okay that we lost a match. I mean, he was just one of those guys that always kind of kept things in perspective. He would lose a tough first set and I would go overheated. Like, I can't wait what he's going to say to me. And he's just like, if that guy can play this well for two sets straight, then it's just too good. And I'm like, he would just put things in perspective. He always thought about things really logically and not emotionally. His frustration tolerance was awesome. He also would, we kind of get wrapped up in this world, like college tennis is our life. And he would talk about, hey, I need to go hunting for a week, or I'm going fishing on my day off on Monday. And I'm just kind of trying to keep this college tennis thing in perspective, that it's, if I put all my eggs into this basket, I'm not going to perform. And it started kind of, now that I have a family and different things, trying to have a little more balance. I thought he was really, really good with that. Jay Friend, obviously, who won All-American this year. I mean, the kid that just absolutely loves, he has a big smile on his face. He loves to compete. And those two guys were so different because Colton was a little more professional, a little bit more, day to day. He took care of his discipline, things he needed to do. And Jay is one of these type of guys where, probably didn't have a dynamic warm up, didn't really do a lot of the things right, but nobody better when it came to the big point. He always was taking his swings, going for his shots. He never backed down from a fight. And so, we essentially, maybe we've had two of the better players in college tennis the last 2 years, and they're completely opposite. And so I think in a lot of ways, one size doesn't fit all for the players that are going to be great. And I think the coach has to realize that too. You're going to coach all of the players on the team different. And so for me, I've got 11 guys on our team. I coach all 11 of them differently. We manage them differently. The way we talk to them differently. And I think that's what's so fun about this job. It's not like you're carrying 3 or 4 players around. You got 11 different chapters you're writing in each and every day. And maybe you do an individual at the 8 a.m. slot, and then the 9 a.m. slot rolls around and you flip the script, because you got to start talking to the kid the way they need to hear it. We've had I had a kid, Philip Malbosic, like the toughest kid I ever coached. I remember going and recruiting him, and he told me, yeah, I played a tournament on a broken hand. And I was like, yep, I want you. I offered him right there. And it was honestly one of those things where he was just a tough kid. And the way you talk to him on the court was you just like help him find the hate. You'd be like, are you really going to lose to this guy? Or, you're just constantly trying to push a button for him to like find that like deep, like hatred inside of himself to compete. And he was unbelievable when you did that. And there's other players that you just try to push certain buttons, and you've been doing this a long time. I mean, a lot of our job as a coach is pushing buttons. And I talk to our players like, hey, I'm going to push all of your buttons when you get here. And I just need you to understand, like, it's because I love you and I care about you and I'm trying to pull something great out of you. And once the players understand that you're not being an asshole, you're just like, hey, I'm trying to extract something out of you, the relationship changes. And sometimes it takes a couple months for these new kids when they show up to realize that, hey, you're trying to you got their back, you love them, you're going to take care of them. But in order to extract the greatness you want out of them, you're going to have to push a few buttons.
I love it. Well, again, Arizona under Clancy's leadership won the last Pac-12 championship they actually beat Stanford in the final there. They won the first Big 12 they competed in. They've won 5 conference titles in the last 4 years, and they've made 4 Sweet 16s in the last 5 years. One thing that you've spoken to me about before is people versus talent in your recruiting or what you're looking for in players that join your program. What exactly do you mean by that?
One of my favorite players all time in our program is Connor Olson. We call him Corn Dog Olson. And we actually have a picture of him with a quote he had a couple years back. And he was in the huddle and he said, if you don't want to work, the door's right there. And it's one of like the first things you see in our program. Like you walk in the door and it's like, Connor Olson, if you don't want to work, the door's right there. And he was one of these 3-4-star players, came in, tough kid from Minnesota, but like the amount of impact he had in our program is maybe higher than anybody who stepped on the court for our team, because he allowed us to establish our foundation. And our saying here is culture wins. Well, we're probably not going to out recruit a lot of the teams that we beat. And, we might not have the nicest facilities, and we might not have the most money, and we might not have all those things that maybe people think about when they think about winning. But what we do is we have our culture, and we have our heart, and the team that's kind of bought into that. And I mean, I'll tell you a story about Connor. I remember at a practice, I was telling the guys, hey guys, we need to up the intensity. Next drill, he's moving so fast that his feet slip out from under him. He falls down and he breaks his wrist. And then, we're playing a match the next week, and I'm like, Connor, you're playing. And he's like, but I broke my wrist. And I was like, you can still hit slice backhands, right? Yeah, I got you, coach. He goes out there, he's playing the match and trying to run around and hitting forehands, like one of the worst sprained ankles I've ever seen. He's still playing the match, and it's all guts, and the whole team's watching him play. And you're thinking to yourself, or at least you got to be thinking that some of the players are like, why is this kid playing? He's got a broken wrist. He sprained his ankle. We're playing some throwaway match. But it's in those moments that I really felt like our culture was established. The building blocks and the framework for this program were established. And all of those guys I have so much time for. they're all in a group chat with me, and we probably talk every week because the respect that we all have for each other and the work that they put in is unbelievable. I call my Mount Rushmore players of Arizona tennis, and it has nothing to do with how many wins you had here.
Well, this may be a good thing or a bad thing, and it also doesn't. But you are revealing your secret to turning around programs, and that is culture, that is character, that is the people that is in your program, and I completely agree. So, looking at recruiting, right? Are you looking for a specific level? Like, yes, you want great people, right? You want kids that will say please, and they'll say thank you, coach, and they will work, just do whatever, and they'll work so hard, and they'll lead the team and all that stuff. But at the same time, is there a certain level you're looking for? Yes, UTR, maybe junior ranking. Like, has your standards, now that you are an elite program, has your standards in recruiting gone up or stayed the same?
Yes, it's obviously gone up. I also believe in this. Like, when you come in the program, if the current is super strong, it's so hard to come and fight the current. Like, you come into a program and you got 10 guys all swimming in the same direction, the coaches. And when the current is so strong and a player comes in and maybe they have, things that need to get better or fixed, well, you're not going to be able to fight against the current very long when your program and your culture is in that certain way. And so we've relaxed some of the things that we've looked at in recruiting of, hey, this kid, we need this talent. Maybe there's some of these things that we know that we're going to have to fix. But certainly, yes, we've had some top recruiting classes in the past couple of years. Our talent level has gone up a little bit, but certainly I think with each kid that we recruit, we kind of want to answer a couple questions. Number one, do you love the game? I mean, honestly, like, if you love the game, you're going to do incredibly well here. Right. And you're going to find that out really, really quick when you talk to them. And man, hey, who's your favorite player? Hey, what do you like? What's your favorite tennis like memory? Number two, like, finding people who are competitive. And we talk about it, like, tell me about a competitive moment in your life. Like, I want to hear about your competitive spirit. And then obviously, like, being coachable. Like, if you can get better, and there's some coaches I have so much respect for in this game. I'm like, man, if that kid goes to that program, they're going to get way better and they're going to be elite. And there's some other players I'm like, if they go to that program, they'll probably be average. But if you can be coachable, right, then, that's so important. And then, dude, you're probably not here unless you have a great work ethic. But certainly, trying to answer some of those basic questions. Hey, does this kid kind of fit like our OKG, like our kind of guy? And if they do fit that, then we want them here. Certainly, with everything changing in the last couple of years with NIL and everyone chasing money and everything, like, we haven't really played in that space too much. And part of it is, like, if you're motivated by money, then I don't know if these other things that we talk about motivate you. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if I'm sure Colton's going to be doing just fine and making money because he came in here and he worked his butt off and he developed. Yep. And I think Jay will be doing the same thing. And it's like, hey, if you come in here and you're good enough, money will follow you later in your life. But if you're just chasing a paycheck here, that might be fleeting at any moment. And then what are you left with? So we haven't built our program on that foundation. We built it on substance, and certainly, maybe that'll come back to bite us. But right now, we've had a few successful years strung together.
I don't know about anyone else listening, but I'm starting to get fired up. So I appreciate that, Clancy. Maybe I'll go for a run after this. Nah. Clancy, you have made 4 Sweet 16s. What is the next step? What is the difference? Is there something that you think needs to flip in order to get onto the final site, Final Four championship, and really go for the big ticket? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously Athens is the final site. So that's it. Everything in our program right now is talking about the Elite Eight and how do we take one step further and create history within our program. And I think for us this summer, our coaching staff was like, let's look at every little thing in our program. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? And let's focus on our process. And okay, we're doing this well. Let's keep this. This is not so good. Well, let's make that better. And so I think we just had to take an inventory of everything in our program. What is our process like? in this space, and how do we make it better? And that was kind of our mentality. And maybe it won't work, but at least, hey, we at the end of the year, all of us coaches can say, hey, we plotted a course of action and where we want to go. We gave our very best at it, and at the end of the year, we did everything that we could. But certainly, we've looked at some things and said, hey, we need to do these things better. We're not doing this very well, and maybe this will be the secret sauce that gets us over the top. Everyone's really good, and if you look back in our last 4 times in the Sweet 16, it's probably been 3 or 4 points has been the difference, in a 4-3 loss or a tough 4-2 loss. I mean, you know this, when you get to the end of the year, the margins are so small. And I think that's been nice to talk about in our locker room when, somebody gives less than their best effort for a few minutes in practice. And that may have cost us going to the Elite Eight. And
Right.
we try to talk about the little gaps that we need to be great in. And certainly, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, and we got a lot of work to do, but I will promise you, hey, our mission is to get beyond where we've been the last few years. I think it's been fun over the last few years where we got to the Sweet 16 and everyone thought, okay, Arizona tennis is going to go back to being mediocre. And we've just had these unbelievable guys in the locker room. We're like, screw that. We're going to keep this thing going. And I think it's the same thing. Like I challenge our guys with is like, is this the year where we fall off? Is this the group that, where we fall back to being mediocre? And, over the last 4 or 5 years, the guys have been like, not on my watch, coach, maybe the next team, not on my watch. And so I'm hoping there's that resiliency in our locker room of it's not happening on my watch.
Well, I'll say 3 things on that. And the first thing is, I'll never forget playing against Virginia in the semis. And the biggest thing that I remember was how loose those guys were under pressure. They were so free. They played so simple. And you could see in their eyes that they believed they were going to win these massive points. That's something that I always wondered. And I actually said to Pedroso at the time that I don't know how he installs that belief in those biggest moments. The second thing is doubles. Obviously doubles. And then the third thing that I think maybe is sometimes overlooked, and this is my next question for you. I don't know. I'm not saying you've overlooked it at all. I'm curious as to what it looks like, is schedule. You obviously play in a great conference. What's your mindset towards scheduling outside of your conference?
Yeah, we'll play anyone, any place, anytime. Yeah, we want to play the best teams. I mean, look, our home record's like 86-5 in the last 5 years. But then I look at our road record, and we win just as much on the road. I mean, like our teams on the road are incredibly good. And so I just kind of feel like this, like if you got the team who is competitive and they have a play with a chip on their shoulder, they like going on the road. They want to go on the road and ink out a tough road win. So we're trying to put together as many road matches as we can. A couple of years ago, we played Ohio State in the Sweet 16 on their courts. And it was the same thing. They'd won like 200 matches in a row. I swear that team, they didn't give 2 hoots about that. They were like, we're going to go in here. We're going to beat these guys. And I think that's something you gotta instill that belief in them. But certainly, yeah, we'll go anywhere at any place, anytime, and try to play a team that's going to help us, host for the NCAA tournament and for the Elite Eight. One
thing in your career is, sorry for this, all the questions, Clancy, but I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this, is you've taken risk. You've gone from Boise to Utah State to Arizona, both programs not doing well at the time, right? What's your advice to young coaches out there that are maybe assistant coaches that are unsure, or they're afraid to take that jump to go maybe take a lower job to then maybe move up? You know what I mean? Like, what's your advice to those coaches who are considering risk like you've done in your career?
Yeah, well, first off, I remember when I got offered the job at Arizona, the AD told me I had an hour to decide. So life is just like this. You have an hour to decide. I just bought a house in Utah. I was like planning to be there forever. Life is has a funny way of like throwing curveballs at you. And I just think, just be ready for whatever and trust your instincts and go. And then, when I got the job here, look, I thought we were going to dominate that first year. Like I just backed myself that much. Like, hey, we're like, I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in like our culture. I believe in who we are. And like, you have to have kind of an unshakable belief in what you're doing. And the losses that we took, dude, you're dang right. Like, we took a loss to Stanford a couple years ago, and I sat in my office till like midnight just looking at the film. And I was like, God, I'm way too psychotic for this. But it was just one of those things where, like, I hate losing, you know. And it's like every coach knows that. I mean, and it was one of those, like, 4-3 Colton lost like a nail biter to Nishesh. But I'm sitting in here like, and I remember writing this note to myself. I was like, let's see if you can coach now. You know, because like when you're winning, you're like, everything's good. But like you take a loss, then you like remind yourself, let's see if you can coach now. You know, and like those kind of like pick me ups of like when stuff hits the fan, like, are you just gonna like, you know, hang dog it a little bit, or do you have any bounce back ability? And certainly I think our teams always get a little nervous when we take a loss or two, because like it's just something in like, all right, you take a loss, and I think you understand this, and a handful of other coaches. But once you take a loss, there's just something inside of you. They're like, we're going to enact change to the nth degree, because losing isn't tolerated here. And I think the team starts to kind of get that mentality. And look, sometimes you look at it, we lost this match because of this, and this. Sometimes we lost it because of the team played too well, whatever. But most times when you take a loss, there's something that we're going to make the biggest adjustment, probably bigger than any other team, because we just don't tolerate that around here. And I take that square on the chin. Like, we take a loss, get ready for some fireworks.
That is some great advice. I'm getting even more fired up. Clancy, as well, I have to ask you, you are hosting a PTT event here coming up. You've done this a couple of years now. You know, you do this time of year as well. What's the benefit to you? What's the benefit to your program? What's the benefit to your players having this event on campus?
Yeah, well, it was awesome last year. It actually replaced our preseason. And, you know, in the preseason, you have these guys playing challenge matches, and they're like, you never get that full intensity, maybe that full fight. I remember last year it was 6-all in a set, and it was like 14-13 in a breaker. And these guys, and it was our guys playing each other, and they were going at it like it was the Super Bowl. And I remember looking over to our staff, and I just said, there's just no way we could have recreated this had it just been, you know, our preseason, because
right.
there's obviously a lineup spot maybe on the line. There's money on the line. There's, you know, it's, you know, maybe there's just a lot of things that are on the line, but just to see these kids fighting for it. It was the last match of the day. It was like 9 p.m. at night. The day had run long. And I was like, there was no way that we could have possibly gotten this competitiveness out of our group had we not had this tournament. Right. And so obviously we want to make it a yearly thing, maybe more, but certainly, you know, the more matches that you play, the better. You know, I love the training aspects and the training blocks, but there's nothing like walking on the court and putting it on the line and seeing how you measure up. And hey, maybe you walk away from that tournament with 5-6 matches in hand, and you get them all in video, and you get to go back and watch it and say, hey, this is where I did well, this is what I didn't do well, and this is what I got to work on. Let's go.
I love it. What's it like working for Arizona, being in the athletic department? You know, if you ask someone random about Arizona, they'd probably say basketball, right? Just that's the revenue sport, and obviously they've had tons of success. But what's it like being a part of that athletic department? Is there anything you can share, maybe fans of the program that listen, that are like, wow, that's really cool about the department, or so-and-so, or the AD, or anything like that?
Well, okay, I'll start this way. And obviously I'm biased, but I go to campuses kind of like, I want to see every campus, and I want to see the energy. And we'll go on campuses, and it's like our team will be like, this place sucks. And like, we don't have, by all means, we don't have the nicest facilities. I mean, we got good facilities, but I'll tell you what, the energy on campus at the University of Arizona, you just walk on it and people are happy. You know, palm trees, good weather, people are smiling. There's just an energy to it. And I've been to a lot of campuses, and there's very few that I can say, man, I walked on that campus, and I've been on our campus, and this place competes. It certainly has that life force to it. I think part of it's the weather. I think part of it's the people. But like, it's a fun place to go to school. It's a very vibrant campus. And then the athletic department, I mean, I think the cool thing here is all of our coaches are housed in this, kind of this building, and we all collaborate. I share a wall with our basketball coach who, I play pickleball with 2 or 3 times a week, or padel.
Nice.
We ended up playing the Bryan brothers and the Jensen brothers in a pickleball exhibition. But I think everybody here is invested in each other, and we're not all off on our silos of doing this. I mean, and I think that's important, because when you see them in the hallways, like, it'd be like you and I, like, you're trying to disperse life and energy to each other of like, go kick some butt today. Like, and we're watching it. And also the teams that are successful, everyone's trying to one up each other. Who's going to win the conference? Who's going to go win a national championship? And I never had that at, let's say, Boise State or Utah State until I walked into this building. And then everyone, you got gold medalists, lifting next to your team. You've got elite coaches, you've got NBA draft players, they're going to be in the NBA. You got, our football team finished 11 in the country a couple of years ago. I mean, everywhere you look, there was kind of like, it was motivating to kind of feel that greatness. And I genuinely think Arizona, and I'm biased, I'm going to say this, it'd be one of, now, if I was a 17, 18-year-old kid and I said, I want to go to a place where I'm going to feel good about my experience and have a well-rounded experience, athletically, academically, socially, I think this place sells itself.
And on that, the last question to anyone listening, players out there, maybe players that you're targeting or the future of the program, what's your final message about this? I mean, I'm listening today and I'm going, okay, I know exactly why this program is turned around, but what's your message to players that are listening, just as a final goodbye, I shall say?
Yeah, I mean, simply, you come to Arizona to win championships. And if you don't want to, if you're not in it to win it and to be the very best, this isn't the place for you. But, as you and I are looking, I'm looking at our 5 conference championships in the last 4 years, and I'm thinking, we said that from day one that, hey, this is the ultimate thing, that we're going to be winning championships here. Well, if you want to come to Arizona, you're coming here to win championships. And that would kind of be my message for anybody that's considering this place.
Well, I now see it. So, Clancy, I really appreciate your time. I've got some big goals for you and your team this year. I think you guys are going to do a great job, but I appreciate your time. Thank you for being a great partner of UTR, and all the best this season.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.